What you cannot do is completely be hands off and completely abdicate responsibility for the business parts. Because guess what? I will argue and say that the business part is probably even more important than the creative part.
Shopé, I be Shopé honest. Someone I know got me on the next thing.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of my channel. My name is Shopé or Shopé, depending on what part of the world you're from. I'm a Nigerian, Canadian, Afrofusion recording artist, and just lover of all things music, creativity, culture, and business. And welcome back to another episode. Still in this special occasion. Obviously, if you're following along, you can tell that I bashed these two episodes, the last one and this one together. But hey, it is what it is. That's great. Moving on. Today I want to talk. I haven't really talked a lot about this in public before. But I figure I can just begin to kind of like share a little more. Today I want to talk about the number one mistake I made when I started my music career, maybe some like 10 years ago. The number one mistake I made. You feel me? If you're starting out, either in music or in any other business, you don't want to make the same mistake I did, because it cost me time, it cost me money, and unfortunately it's cost me relationships as well. But stay tuned, let's get to it. First things first, I want to encourage you to smash that like button. I keep forgetting to say it in these episodes, but smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for the algos. It really goes a long way. So, what was the number one mistake I made when I started my music career? It was blindly trusting instead of trusting but verifying. You feel me? I'll say that again. My number one mistake was blindly trusting instead of trusting but verifying. You feel me? I heard Bill Ackerman, big major finance guy, say that. He says he employs a model in his companies where he understands that he's not going to know as much as, say, the CFO or HR or any head of any department. And so there's an implicit trust that you give that I hired you, right? There was a vetting process. And so I hired you and I trust you're going to execute on the job. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to verify it. That doesn't mean I'm not going to audit you. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to check in now and then and make sure that you are in fact doing what you're supposed to be doing. And for me, that was not something I did. You know what I'm saying? Probably because the relationship started off on kind of like a brotherly type situation. You know what I'm saying? None of us really knew what we were doing. We just knew that we wanted to do this thing. And there was an implicit trust there. You feel me? There was an implicit like, hey, listen, let me take care of, it was actually said to me, we don't want you to worry about the business side, just focus on the creative side. And that sounds like a nice thing to say. It sounds like a nice thing to say, but I don't even think there's any ill intent behind that. You know what I'm saying? There could be, but doesn't necessarily mean there's ill intent. The truth of the matter is that it is hard to wear this double hat where you have your creative brain and you have your business brain. You feel me? It really takes two different parts of your brain, and not everybody is able to do this well. You know what I'm saying? I'm thankful that I'm able to do it, but not everybody's able to do it well. And some people may benefit from like just completely having somebody else handle the business, and that's fine. However, even in that situation where you may have enough self-assessment to say, listen, business is not my greatest strength. You feel me? I like the creative piece. I'll let somebody else take care of that. That's fine. But what you cannot do is completely be hands off and completely abdicate responsibility for the business parts. Because guess what? I will argue and say that the business part is probably even more important than the creative part. You feel me? The creative part is nice, but I don't know anybody who gets into any creative pursuit. And even like, take this and plant this in whatever industry you're in. I don't know anybody who gets into some pursuit of something and says, man, I'm doing this because I want as few people to know about this as possible, and I want to make as little money as possible, and maybe some have that intent, and I want this to be to have a great potential for confusion and stress. Nobody really ever says that. Whenever you start something, you're probably doing it because you want to put your best effort at it, and you want as many people to benefit from what you're creating as possible. You feel me? Whether or not money is the goal, the fact of the matter is you want the world to see it, right? And the byproduct of the world seeing it are riches and fame potentially, but that's not why you chase it. You do it because you know this is going to help people. You feel me? And guess what? An integral part of that isn't just the creation of that thing itself, but it's how that thing is handled, how it's marketed, and how it is presented to the world. And all of that is the business side. You feel me? And if you're not aware of what's going on the business side, you could miss opportunities. You could be stolen from. Not saying I was stolen from. That did not happen to me. However, My mistake was by completely abdicating. There were a lot of things that I missed, right? There were a lot of things that could have been prevented. And at the end of the day, I am who I am, and I am where I am as a result of all of these varying experiences that have come to bear, you know what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is this: I realized at some point in time that, you know what, I think there's some things here that could be done better. I think there's some questions I could be asking. I think there is some accountability that should have been brought to bear much sooner. However, I didn't do that earlier, partially because I didn't even know the questions to ask. But if you're growing and you're maturing and you strive to do better, eventually you should be aware, you should be connected with the business side of your pursuits. You feel me? Great. Find a business partner, if you're able to find one, who loves that stuff. That is great. But make sure you trust, and it's trust first, because if there is no trust in it, that's going to make for a very contentious relationship, right? That's going to make for constant second guessing. That's going to make for constantly being suspicious of that person, and you won't achieve anything. So I'm not saying don't trust. I'm saying trust, but verify. You feel me? And if that person is as good, is as transparent, is as forthcoming, and as clean spirited as they are, then guess what? They will not have a problem with being audited. You know what I'm saying? When the individual begins to move all shifty and shady and funny, when you ask, like, all right, so let me see the books for this month. You see me? Oh, what are you planning? What are we trying to do? If the person is evasive and ducking and hiding, those should be red flags for you. You feel me? Those should give you huge pause as to, I wonder what's going on. Because if everything is truly above board, right? And if you guys are truly in this together, then that person should have absolutely zero problem with occasionally, whether it's a monthly basis or a bi-monthly basis or whatever you guys work out, should have no problem being transparent with you about the business side of your dealings. Because guess what? Without the business, unfortunately, you're not going anywhere. You feel me? And so my biggest mistake for many years when I first started music was not thinking about this thing as a business, but just thinking about it as just a purely creative pursuit, and completely abdicating responsibility, not even asking the questions, not auditing, not verifying. And unfortunately, over time, some things started falling apart, and I began to notice some things, and I started to ask some questions. And when I started asking those questions, things started falling apart even more. And then at some point in time, I said, listen, some things aren't adding up, some things aren't making sense. What happens if I begin to kind of like be more intentional about taking on the business aspects? And you know what happened? As I began to be more intentional in taking control of the business aspects, things started happening in ways that didn't happen before, right? Little mistakes that were made before weren't made anymore. Why? Because I was more intentional in taking control of that. Once I fully embraced the fact that business is here and it's a part of what I do, ever since then, I've seen more success than I saw prior to. You feel me? So whatever your industry, whatever your pursuit is, remember there is a business side to it. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a bad thing. Business is not a bad thing. Business doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be cancerous. It doesn't have to be poisonous. You feel me? It doesn't have to be selfish or jealous, or just like somebody doesn't have to lose in order for somebody else to win. But the fact of the matter is that you are steeped in business. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like the technical aspects of business, you just want to do the creative part, just consider this. You are literally steeped in business, right? What you're wearing was sold to you by someone. Where you sleep, where you lay your head is owned and managed by someone. What you watch, the phone you're watching this through, right? Somebody sold that to you or marketed it to you. The headphones you're listening to, you feel me? The food you eat, somebody sold that to you. Literally everything, every aspect of your life is touched by business and entrepreneurship. You feel me? And these people, the reason you're wearing that product is probably because somebody thought for a long time about how can I get this to this person. You feel me? The drink that you drank, or the food that you ate, or whatever, just point to anything. Literally close your eyes and just point to something, and that thing that you were engaging with, that you've purchased or that you have, was designed by someone and intended to be sold to somebody else, right? So if you think of business as maybe a scary thing or a bad thing, just consider just how surrounded by it you are, and you will realize that at the end of the day, it's actually not that strange. We're not that removed from it. You feel me? So it's very important that if you are starting something, you be engaged in the business aspects of it. You know what I'm saying? Be aware, be connected to it, and don't completely run away from it. Because if you do, it'll be to your detriment and it'll be to your demise. You feel me? Don't make the same mistake I made that cost me a lot of time, cost me money, and cost me relationships, unfortunately. It wasn't all bad. I just want to say it was not all bad. Unfortunately, it did not end well. You feel me? And these were things that could have been avoided if I was more proactive in the beginning. You feel me? But the good news is it's never too late to get started. It's never too late to learn from your mistakes. It's never too late to keep it moving. So everybody out there, do not neglect the business aspects of what you're doing. You feel me? That's all I got to say for you today. Love you guys. Your boy Shopé. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.